Imagine just for a moment that everything you have ever dreamed of, every possibility you have longed for in your heart, already exists. Not somewhere far away in a distant time, not as an abstract concept, but as a version of you that is already living it. Your future self, the one who embodies your highest potential, has already chosen the path you are now walking. And yet, here you are, in this present moment, caught in routines, doubts, and fears, feeling as if you must struggle to create the life you desire. What if, instead of creating, you are simply remembering? What if all that you long for is waiting for you to recognize it within yourself, like a familiar melody you had forgotten but could instantly recall once you listened closely? It is a strange and profound thought, that your destiny, the version of you that is thriving, confident, and fully alive, might already exist, and that the only thing keeping you from it is the veil of forgetfulness. In every quiet moment, every fleeting thought, there are hints of this greater self reaching out to you. Perhaps it is in a sudden wave of inspiration, a chance encounter, or a moment of déjà vu that feels as though the universe itself is nudging you forward. These are not coincidences. They are whispers, gentle reminders from the self you already are, the self that has seen what is possible and is patiently waiting for you to catch up. Consider your life as a vast landscape of possibilities. Right now you are navigating a narrow path, bound by familiar habits, societal expectations, and the stories you tell yourself about what is and is not possible. And yet, beyond this limited path, there is a horizon shimmering with infinite potential. Your future self is already there, standing at the edge of what you now perceive as impossible, fully embodied and fully realized. Every decision you make, every thought you entertain, either draws you closer to this version of yourself or keeps you rooted in the familiar patterns of limitation. But the key is not to struggle or chase, it is to remember. Remembering is different from forcing. It is a gentle recognition, a deep awakening that allows you to see that the life you have imagined is not something to be built brick by brick through sheer effort or willpower. It is something to be remembered, like a path in a forest that you once walked but forgot. When you remember, the path becomes clear, illuminated not by struggle but by alignment. And in that alignment, reality begins to shift, almost imperceptibly at first, until one day you notice that the world around you has transformed in ways you could never have orchestrated with planning alone. This process begins with awareness. It begins with noticing the subtle nudges and feelings that arise when you allow yourself to contemplate the possibility that your future self exists now. The idea may feel foreign, even unsettling, because it challenges the deeply ingrained belief that time is linear and that you must earn everything through effort and struggle. But what if time is not a straight line, and what if your present self is already in constant conversation with your future self? What if every choice you make, every thought you hold, is like tuning an instrument, allowing it to resonate with the frequency of the life that is waiting for you to remember? In this moment you may feel a mixture of curiosity, doubt, and wonder. That is natural. The mind resists what it cannot fully comprehend, but the heart senses truth in ways that logic cannot capture. The very act of considering that your future self may already exist opens the door to a profound shift in perception. Suddenly, life is no longer a series of endless struggles to achieve, prove, or become something distant. It becomes a delicate unfolding, a remembering of the wholeness and possibility that have always been within you. So, let yourself imagine, what would it feel like to step into this awareness fully? To feel, in your body, mind, and spirit, that the life you desire is already here, waiting for you to align with it? To recognize that the fears, doubts, and limitations you have carried are not walls, but illusions that dissolve when you remember who you truly are? In this awakening, you are invited to release the tension of trying to create and instead embrace the fluid, effortless dance of remembering. Every breath, every thought, every quiet intention becomes a bridge to the self you are destined to be. And as you begin this journey, it is important to carry both patience and openness. The process of remembering is not immediate. It unfolds in layers, gently revealing the contours of your future self as you move forward. Each insight, each synchronicity, each moment of clarity is a step closer to the realization that the future you seek is not somewhere out there, it is already here, quietly awaiting your recognition. And in this quiet awakening, you begin to sense a new reality, one in which the impossible feels natural, and the life you have always imagined is not a distant dream but a present truth you are finally remembering. As we move deeper into this exploration, it becomes essential to consider the nature of reality itself and how the universe might be conspiring to allow you to remember your future self. At first glance, the idea that your future self already exists can feel abstract or even impossible. After all, we are taught to see time as a straight line, a sequence of cause and effect, with the present as the only moment we truly inhabit. But what if this perception is limited? What if time, as you experience it, is only one layer of a much more intricate structure? Quantum physics, ancient philosophy, and spiritual traditions all point to the possibility that time is not linear, that past, present, and future are interconnected in ways we are only beginning to understand. Consider the phenomenon of déjà vu. That fleeting sensation of familiarity, as if you have lived a moment before, is more than a curiosity. It may be a subtle sign that your consciousness has brushed against a reality where your future self already exists. Quantum theory introduces the concept of nonlinear time and superposition, suggesting that all possible outcomes exist simultaneously, and that our perception collapses them into a single narrative. This means that the life you imagine, the choices you desire, and the person you long to become are already present in some form, waiting for you to recognize them. The universe is not random. It is a web of potentialities, a vast multiverse where every version of yourself coexists. Spiritual teachings echo these ideas in a different language. In Vedanta, for example, the self is described as eternal, existing beyond the constraints of time and space. The concept of remembering your future self is akin to awakening to the truth that you are already whole, already complete, and that your current life is a veil over the knowledge you carry within. In other words, manifestation is less about forcing reality into shape and more about uncovering what is already present, tuning yourself into the frequency of the life you are destined to inhabit. The universe, through synchronicities, intuitions, and subtle nudges, is constantly guiding you toward alignment with this greater self. To fully grasp this, it helps to imagine your life as a network of branching paths, each representing a potential reality. Every thought, every choice, every intention you hold acts as a signal, guiding you along one path rather than another. Yet all paths exist in a larger quantum field, an infinite landscape of possibilities where your future self is already moving forward. You are not merely reacting to events or struggling to create outcomes. You are navigating a pre-existing terrain, learning to recognize the signals that point you toward your highest expression. The challenge lies in quieting the noise of fear, doubt, and habitual thinking, so that you can perceive the subtle currents of your destined reality. The science of consciousness further illuminates this process. Experiments in quantum mechanics, such as those involving entanglement, show that particles separated by vast distances can instantaneously affect each other, hinting at an underlying connectedness that transcends our conventional understanding of space and time. If such interconnectedness exists at the subatomic level, it is not unreasonable to consider that consciousness itself may operate similarly, linking your present self with your future self in ways that are profound, subtle, and invisible. The moments of clarity you experience, the intuitive nudges, the sudden bursts of insight, these may be quantum threads connecting you to the self you are meant to become. Philosophically, this reframes the concept of destiny. It is not a rigid path imposed from outside, nor is it a lottery of chance. Instead, destiny becomes a conversation, an ongoing interaction between who you are now and who you already are becoming. By observing your thoughts, emotions, and reactions and aligning them with the values, desires, and qualities of your future self, you begin to collapse the gap between potential and reality. The universe responds not to frantic effort but to clarity, coherence, and resonance, guiding you toward experiences that reflect the life you are remembering rather than constructing it from scratch. To make this more tangible, consider moments when you have felt inexplicably drawn to a person, a place, or an opportunity. These are not mere coincidences. They are echoes of the future calling you forward. When approached with awareness, they reveal patterns, alignments, and opportunities that indicate your path is not arbitrary but deeply orchestrated. The recognition of these subtle hints requires patience and attunement, a willingness to observe without judgment, and a gentle surrender to the flow of life. By cultivating this awareness, you learn to read the language of reality itself, interpreting the signs that your future self has already laid before you. Stories from history and modern life provide further confirmation. Many great thinkers, artists, and spiritual leaders describe experiences of knowing, intuiting, or remembering insights that later manifested in reality. These experiences are not anomalies but illustrations of what is possible when consciousness aligns with its own future trajectory. Your life, too, can be understood as a series of invitations from your future self, each one offering a chance to step into a version of yourself that has already chosen joy, abundance, and fulfillment. The recognition of these invitations is the first step toward remembering rather than struggling, toward awakening rather than striving. Ultimately, the key lesson is that the bridge between your present and future selves exists in awareness. The moment you begin to entertain the possibility that your future self is not a distant dream but a present reality, the process of alignment begins. Science provides the framework, philosophy gives the meaning, and spiritual practice offers the tools to connect with this higher aspect of yourself. The path is neither immediate nor forceful. It is gentle, deliberate, and profoundly empowering. By understanding the science and philosophy of remembering, you begin to cultivate the clarity, patience, and resonance required to live as if your future self is already here, guiding you, whispering through intuition, and calling you home to the life you were always meant to inhabit. Now that we have opened the door to the possibility that your future self already exists, the next step is learning how to awaken the awareness within. This is the heart of the journey, the point where knowledge transforms into lived experience, where abstract ideas become tangible, and where the whispers of your higher self become a guiding presence in your daily life. Awakening your awareness is not about forcing change or trying to control outcomes. It is about tuning yourself to the frequency of the self you already are and remembering how to embody that reality moment by moment. It begins with stillness, with intentional presence, and with the willingness to notice the subtle signs that point you toward your future self. One of the most powerful tools for this awakening is meditation. Meditation is not simply a practice for relaxation. It is a doorway into the deeper layers of consciousness where your present and future selves meet. Begin by finding a quiet space, allowing your body to settle and focusing on your breath. As you breathe in, imagine drawing in the essence of your future self, the clarity, confidence, and vitality that you wish to embody. As you breathe out, release tension, fear, and doubt, clearing the mind of the barriers that separate you from your higher self. In this meditative space, envision a version of yourself already living the life you desire. See the details, the way you move, the thoughts you hold, the feelings that permeate your being. By regularly practicing this form of mindful visualization, you create a bridge between the present and the future, aligning your energy with what is already waiting for you. Visualization is another profound technique, often described as mental rehearsal by athletes, artists, and visionaries. It is not mere daydreaming. It is a deliberate act of alignment, a way of imprinting the consciousness with the reality you wish to inhabit. Take a moment each day to vividly imagine yourself stepping into your future life. Imagine waking up in the morning, going about your day, interacting with people, and experiencing joy and fulfillment in all that you do. Allow yourself to feel the emotions fully, as if the reality is already here. The brain cannot distinguish between actual experiences and vividly imagined ones, which means that your subconscious mind begins to adapt to this new identity, subtly guiding your actions, choices, and perceptions toward alignment with your future self. Journaling can complement meditation and visualization by providing a tangible record of your thoughts, desires, and insights. When you write with intention, you are not merely recording events. You are dialoguing with your future self. Ask questions like, what does my future self want me to know today? Or, how would my highest self respond to this situation? Then write the answers as they come, without censorship or judgment. Over time, patterns emerge, revealing guidance from your own higher consciousness. These written reflections serve as reminders that your future self is not distant or unattainable. It is already present, offering wisdom and direction when you pause to listen. Conscious alignment is another critical aspect of awakening awareness. It is one thing to visualize and journal about your future self, but it is another to integrate that awareness into your thoughts, actions, and decisions. Observe how your present habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns either support or resist the version of yourself you wish to remember. For example, if your future self is confident and abundant, notice moments when fear or scarcity arises in your current reality. Rather than suppressing these feelings, acknowledge them, then consciously choose to respond as your future self would, with trust, clarity, and empowered action. Over time, these small acts of alignment compound, creating a feedback loop that reinforces the presence of your future self in every aspect of your life. Energy awareness plays a subtle but essential role in this process. Everything you think and feel emits an energetic vibration that interacts with the universe, influencing the experiences and opportunities you attract. By cultivating emotional awareness and consciously choosing feelings that reflect the state of your future self, gratitude, joy, love, confidence, you naturally harmonize with the reality you are remembering. Practices like breathwork, mindful movement, or spending time in nature can help you tune into your energy, making it easier to sense when you are aligned or when you are being pulled back into old patterns of limitation. Stories and metaphors can deepen understanding and provide emotional resonance, which is crucial for internalizing these practices. Imagine a river flowing toward the ocean. The river does not fight its course. It moves naturally, following the path that leads it to its ultimate destination. Your journey of remembering your future self is much the same. The more you align with the essence of who you already are, the more effortlessly life flows toward the experiences, relationships, and opportunities that reflect that reality. Resistance only slows the process, creating turbulence, whereas alignment allows the current of your consciousness to carry you naturally to the life that has always existed in potential. It is also important to recognize that this journey is not instantaneous. Awakening awareness occurs in layers, like peeling an onion, revealing depth after depth of insight, clarity, and resonance. Patience is essential. Celebrate small victories, moments when you catch yourself thinking, feeling, or acting as your future self would. Each act of conscious alignment strengthens the neural pathways of your higher self, creating a cumulative effect that gradually transforms your lived experience. These incremental shifts may feel subtle at first, but over time they manifest as profound changes in perspective, relationships, opportunities, and self-perception. Community and shared consciousness can amplify this process. Surrounding yourself with like-minded seekers, whether through meditation groups, spiritual communities, or mentors, creates an environment where the idea of remembering your future self becomes tangible and supported. Conversations, shared practices, and collective energy act as mirrors, reflecting possibilities and reinforcing the notion that this is not an abstract fantasy but a real and achievable state of consciousness. You begin to recognize that remembering is both an individual and collective phenomenon, connected to the larger fabric of consciousness that surrounds and permeates all life. Ultimately, awakening the awareness within is about embodying the knowledge that your future self is not a distant possibility, it is a present reality you are learning to recognize. Meditation, visualization, journaling, conscious alignment, and energy awareness are tools that guide you, but the transformation arises from your consistent willingness to observe, align, and remember. As you cultivate this awareness, fear and doubt gradually give way to trust and clarity, inertia gives way to inspired action, and the life you have imagined begins to unfold not as a goal to chase, but as a reality to step into. Living from the perspective of your future self is the natural progression from awakening awareness. It is one thing to meditate, visualize, and journal about a higher version of yourself, but it is quite another to embody that self in the flow of daily life. This embodiment is where transformation becomes tangible. It is where the ideas you have been exploring shift from theory into action, from imagination into lived reality. When you begin to operate from your future self, the way you respond to challenges, make decisions, and interact with others fundamentally changes. You move with a sense of purpose, clarity, and trust that is effortless yet profoundly powerful. To live from your future self is to inhabit a mindset of alignment. Imagine every decision you make, every thought you entertain, and every action you take is being filtered through the consciousness of who you are meant to be. Your future self is not someone you will eventually become, it is a current, guiding presence influencing your choices in subtle ways. When faced with difficulties, instead of reacting from fear or limitation, you pause and ask, how would my future self respond in this moment? The answers come not as rigid rules but as intuitive nudges, shaping your behavior toward greater harmony, confidence, and alignment with your highest vision. This perspective encourages trust in the unfolding of your life. Living from the future self requires relinquishing the illusion that you must control every detail, that you must micromanage outcomes, or that success is measured by immediate results. Instead, you cultivate patience, knowing that each moment is part of a larger orchestration. The universe, in its subtle wisdom, responds to the resonance of your consciousness. When you operate from alignment with your future self, opportunities present themselves naturally, coincidences acquire meaning, and the right people, circumstances, and experiences begin to flow into your life in ways that feel effortless. Practical application of this perspective begins with awareness in everyday choices. Start with the small decisions: how you speak to yourself, the quality of attention you bring to your tasks, the energy you carry into interactions. Your future self acts like a compass, showing you which paths reflect alignment and which reflect resistance. Perhaps it manifests as a quiet sense of certainty in your decisions or a deep knowing that a particular choice supports your long-term vision. By observing and following these cues, you begin to live in a way that is consistent with the reality you are remembering, gradually collapsing the gap between your current self and your future self. Emotional mastery is another essential element of living from your future self. The emotions you carry, fear, doubt, frustration, and impatience, can cloud perception and create friction between your present and future selves. By practicing emotional regulation and choosing feelings that reflect the state of your higher self, joy, confidence, gratitude, and love, you align your internal state with the reality you are moving toward. This does not mean suppressing negative emotions, but rather acknowledging them, releasing their grip, and consciously shifting toward the vibration of the self you are embodying. In doing so, you transform emotional energy into a vehicle for manifestation, allowing experiences to unfold in a natural, harmonious flow. Living from your future self also involves cultivating presence and mindfulness in all areas of life. It is not enough to imagine a different version of yourself while remaining disconnected from the here and now. True embodiment requires integration, bringing the wisdom, clarity, and alignment of your future self into every interaction, every task, and every thought. This presence transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for growth and reflection, turning daily routines into rituals that reinforce your alignment. Over time, this practice reshapes perception, making the extraordinary appear within the ordinary and allowing synchronicities to emerge as clear signs of resonance with your higher path. Another key aspect is decisiveness and inspired action. When operating from your future self, you no longer procrastinate or second-guess choices based on fear or uncertainty. Instead, you act with intention, trusting that each step is part of a coherent path. Inspired action differs from forced effort. It is born from clarity and alignment rather than anxiety or compulsion. By consistently making choices that reflect your highest self, you reinforce the connection between present and future, gradually weaving the reality you are remembering into your everyday existence. The ripple effect of living from your future self extends beyond personal achievement. Relationships, work, creativity, and health all begin to transform as you carry this higher consciousness into every facet of life. People respond differently to your presence. Opportunities unfold with less struggle, and your energy naturally attracts experiences that are in harmony with your intended reality. Challenges are no longer sources of frustration but invitations to refine alignment, to practice presence, and to deepen trust in your path. In this way, living from your future self becomes a lifestyle, a continuous practice of embodying the highest version of who you are. Ultimately, living from your future self is about integration, trust, and consistency. It is about collapsing the illusion of separation between who you are now and who you are destined to be. Every thought, emotion, and action becomes a reflection of that higher self, and in doing so, you awaken to the truth that the life you have imagined is not something to achieve, it is something to inhabit. The more you practice this embodiment, the more seamless and natural it becomes, until one day you realize that the person you were striving to become was already here, guiding, supporting, and living through you all along. In this state, life begins to feel effortless, rich, and aligned. Challenges are met with clarity, opportunities are recognized intuitively, and every choice resonates with a deep sense of purpose. As we arrive at the culmination of this journey, it is important to pause and reflect on the profound truth that has been unfolding throughout our exploration. The life you have always imagined, the self you have longed to become, is not distant or unattainable. It is already present, existing in a reality that you are learning to remember. This recognition changes everything, not by adding more effort or struggle to your life, but by inviting a gentle, expansive shift in perception. The old story of striving, pushing, and waiting is replaced by a new story of alignment, resonance, and conscious remembering. The life you seek is no longer a goal to chase. It is a truth you step into. The journey of remembering your future self is not linear. There will be moments of clarity, where everything feels connected, and there will be moments of doubt, when the mind questions the possibility of such transformation. Both are necessary, for the contrast allows you to see the distinction between the life you have been living and the life you are beginning to inhabit. Each moment of uncertainty is an opportunity to practice trust, patience, and alignment, while every insight or synchronicity serves as confirmation that you are on the right path. By embracing both the light and the shadow of this journey, you cultivate a resilience that strengthens the bridge between your present self and your future self. Gratitude becomes a cornerstone of this practice. When you acknowledge the glimpses of your future self in your daily life, when you celebrate the small victories of alignment and awareness, you reinforce the energetic resonance of that reality. Gratitude is more than a feeling, it is a frequency that draws your consciousness closer to the life you are remembering. It opens channels of perception, allowing you to notice opportunities, synchronicities, and guidance that may have previously gone unseen. Through gratitude, the universe responds with greater clarity and support, and your experience of life begins to reflect the abundance, joy, and fulfillment of your future self. Another essential element of this conclusion is the understanding that remembering is an ongoing, evolving process. It does not have an endpoint, for the self is infinite and ever-expanding. Each day offers new opportunities to notice the whispers of your higher self, to align with the vibration of your desired reality, and to embody the qualities of your future self in every thought, emotion, and action. This is the art of living consciously, where every decision becomes a reflection of the self you are remembering and every experience becomes an invitation to step more fully into your highest potential. Ultimately, the message is one of empowerment and gentle reassurance. You are not separate from the life you desire, you are intrinsically connected to it. The future you imagine has already been chosen, and the path to it lies not in frantic striving, but in the quiet, deliberate act of remembering. Meditation, visualization, journaling, conscious alignment, and living from your future self are not steps to an endpoint, they are tools to maintain resonance with the truth of your being.